Thanks for staying with us. Massive consumerism, extreme poverty. It's the great irony of our world. While some shrug and say that's the price you pay for rampant capitalism, an Australian enterprise has put their hands up to ask, what if we flip that system and use it to end extreme poverty? Now, if that was a difficult concept to grasp a year ago, it's even more difficult now, with the Gates Foundation recently reporting that the coronavirus crisis has pushed close on 37 million more people into extreme poverty, basically wiping out any gains made in that regard in the last 2 decades. We need a miracle right now, right? Or do we just need buy-in from some of the world's biggest consumer brands? Let's find out more about that Australian enterprise, ThankYou, who have a rather audacious plan to take their idea to end extreme poverty to the rest of the world. We're joined via Skype by ThankYou's MD and co-founder, Daniel Flynn, live for us from Melbourne. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be, while we chat, we'll be showing some pictures of that YouTube message that you've put out there that's just about started to go viral with the very basics of this plan that you've had. But to start us off, ThankYou was founded about 12 years ago, and you've operated mainly in Australia and New Zealand, selling hand wash and sanitizers. And of course, you were in that business long before it became the thing that none of us now can live without, really. And your business would have seen quite a bit of profit over the last few months as the world, indeed your country and New Zealand, went through this pandemic and realized how important sanitizers and hand wash is. Tell us about ThankYou, where you find yourself post-lockdown, and what you believe you have found could work based on the work that you've done with your business.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you for the introduction. I mean, we sell consumer product like hand sanitizer and hand wash, but it exists all for the end of extreme poverty. And our goal is to make as much money as we can for our partners who are working around the world, kind of on the front line, serving those living in extreme poverty. Now, the pandemic it flipped the world upside down. We sold so much hand sanitizer, though, here in Australia and New Zealand, that we raised a further $10 million for our impact partners. Now, for context, in 12 years, we raised $7 million, and then in the space of a few months, a further 10. And so we're seeing this model work where consumers are still consuming, but the money we're making as a social enterprise, which is a unique business model, is going to helping those who are really stuck right now, as Bill and Melinda Gates have pointed out. And so this whole idea is, imagine if we could take this idea that's working in 2 of the smallest countries in the world to the world, and what if we could do it today?
Now that's a very stark difference in profit. 7 million over 12 years compared to 10 million just over the last few months. Explain to people that you're using the term impact partners. Explain to our viewers who those people are and how you got to a point that you said, we're doing this business, we're making money, but we're going to ensure that that money goes to people who are actually making a difference in people's day-to-day lives.
Yeah, look, we are, as I mentioned, a unique model. Our business is owned 100% by our charitable trust. So that means no founders get shares, there are no investors, there are no shareholders, and all the money we make for our charitable trust goes out to our partners. Now, currently, and you can see this on our website, thankyou.co, we have 16 impact partners. These are charities working right throughout sub-Saharan Africa, throughout parts of Southeast Asia, and they have incredible programs from water, health, sanitation, through to maternal infant health, through to enterprise programs and backing local change makers. One of the newer partners we've joined with, Strong Minds, they're working right across sub-Saharan Africa, tackling the mental health crisis and supporting the 66 million women who are struggling right now with that. And we have a really diverse range of partners doing amazing work. Honestly, I feel like we have the easy job. We are raising the money, combining the consumer choice and that collective dollar, but we're backing the kind of the real heroes in this story, which are our partners.
Now, Daniel, you talk about conscious capitalism, and I'm sure people watching this, and I'm sure people that you've interacted with over the years will say, come on, Daniel, that's the kind of thing we talk about at uni or at varsity, as we call it here, when we're going through our hippie phase and we think we want to change the world. But that's not how the real world works. What do you say to those people?
I hear you, but we've worked for now just over 12 years to really flip business as usual, and it has been one of the hardest journeys of our life. I mean, we talk about it like the battle of our lives, because we've gone up against some of the biggest multinationals in the world. We have competed and finally, after years, hit a real tipping point. And ThankYou is a story of consumers uniting the little they have to make a difference. And it's a revolution. Like a couple of years ago, the supermarkets in Australia, the two biggest said no. And so we loaded a video up onto YouTube and Facebook, and we said, hey, everyone, 2 weeks from today, we're going to meet with them again. They've said no for 5 years, but would you jump onto their Facebook, use your voice? And people did. I mean, they sung, danced, rapped. 2 helicopter pilots flew their helicopters for free around their head offices. And the supermarkets were overwhelmed by the power of the people. They said yes, and now we have the #1 hand wash on shelf in Australia, and the rest is history. So I would say to those who are skeptical, I get it, but it's a working model. Now we have to take it to global scale.
It's quite telling that just before we spoke to you, we were looking at the Sunday papers here in South Africa, and the big news tells us about these big multi-million-dollar rand businessmen who are making big money off government tenders when they are supposed to be providing very important services to the poorest of the poor here in South Africa. It calls for a very important conversation about when is enough profit for big business. Do you think the world is ready to finally have that very honest and truthful conversation?
Look, I think it is. And you know, I think the pandemic has kind of turned the lights on the injustices all around the world. You know, it has shone a light, and I think people are ready for kind of, as we move out of this health crisis and then economic crisis, I think we're ready to look at things differently. And our big bet, and what this No Small Plan is about, it is about a bold call out to the biggest companies on the planet. We're saying business as usual has changed, and you know, we're coming for you. And the stories that you are on the front page of your paper today, they need to be gone tomorrow. The gap between, you know, extreme wealth and extreme poverty, it's unacceptable. And I think it's time that we really rally around that.
Now, you've been quite sneaky and disruptive, as the people in marketing would say. You're trying to get a big meeting with giant retailers like Unilever and Procter & Gamble and so on. Tell us about this plan.
So we've just launched a video online. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And it's called No Small Plan. But we've just sent an invitation to Unilever and P&G. Now, they are 2 of the biggest product companies on the planet. And it's an invitation to say, hey, we've competed with you for over a decade, but we're inviting you to help make and distribute ThankYou products literally to the world. Now, if you don't know the companies, they have got hundreds of factories and they make products for billions of us every day. And we've made it clear, if the big 2 don't join us on this mission, we've sent that same invitation to 9 of their nearest competitors, because at ThankYou, we're looking for one partner willing to go in with this movement and together, you know, help take what's been $17 million raised soon into hundreds of millions of dollars when we think the world needs it most.
Your approach is also quite interesting, that in that your the strategy that you've taken very much appeals to younger citizens of the world. Was that a conscious decision as well?
Look, I mean, we started this when we were 19. My co-founder and wife, Justine, is 21 when we started. We've grown up a little bit. You know, we're kind of 12 years in now, but we've always seen this as, you know, very much a next generation of business. But what I love about ThankYou is when you look at the people that campaign, and right now people are posting on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they're posting 4 words, I'm in, are you? They're tagging P&G, they're tagging Unilever, hashtag ThankYou to the world. There's some young people, but there's some very, very, very senior people in our world getting behind this, because they've got a lot of age, but they've got a young heart and they want to see a different world. And today's one moment where we can combine our voice to help see that happen.
And I suppose just in closing, they want to see a different world, and those of us in Africa who would like to see the narrative of extreme poverty, gender-based violence, and all of those other ills that come as a result of poverty as well. We'd like to see that change as well. And you believe that you can do it if we get the buy-in from the most powerful people in the world?
Absolutely. And I think our job is to not just get their buy-in, but also help hold them accountable, because each of these big companies, you know, we've watched them for over a decade. They're making big statements about purpose and wanting to make a difference. We genuinely believe they do. We've met many of the people at these companies. There's some amazing people wanting to create amazing change. Now's the moment to do it. and we're calling on consumers, on the people, to voice their support online, because I think unless the many of us unite our voice, the old system will exist for too long. So we need people's help sharing this campaign, helping spread the word, and it's been really, really cool to be able to chat with you guys today.
Thank you so much for your time. Fascinating discussion. We wish you everything of the best. That's Daniel Flynn, MD and co-founder of ThankYou, joining us live there from Melbourne in Australia. We've got some